That's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to bring it back to basics. Got a cat out there named Tag. He's brand new. He's got a mixing board. He's got a laptop. He's got a CD player. He doesn't know what's happening yet. We all had to start somewhere, so here we go. Back to Basics Volume 1 for Tag. Now what we have here is probably the most basic DJ setup that you can think of. We have a turntable on this side, a turntable on that side, and a mixing board in the middle. Now we happen to be using turntables today, but these could be CD players on each side, or we could have a CD player and a laptop, or a laptop and a CD player, or a turntable and a VCR. It doesn't matter. Anything we want to hook up, we can pretty much hook up, as long as it has plugs that look like this coming out of the back of them. These are called Rca plugs. Have a look at them. You've got a red one and a white one. And sometimes it's a red one and a black one. But basically what they are left and right stereo channels from any kind of audio source that is stereo. Now there's a place in the mixer where you can plug in your audio sources like turntables or DVD players or CD players or laptops to correspond with what we call channels or faders. This is fader number 1. We have this turntable plugged into the back of this mixing board to correspond with channel 1 or fader number 1 right here. And it's the same thing with number 2. We have it working on this fader right here, which is fader number 2. And in between down here we have what's called a crossfader. Now let me show you how this all works. I'm going to start this song up with this fader all the way to that side, obviously. Grab this fader right here. I bring it down, the volume goes down. Bring it up, the volume goes up. Just like on your home stereo, your car stereo, whatever you have. Now let's say I want to play this song over here. I just take this crossfader and move it over to that side because I have the mixing board set up to do it that way. I don't even have to mess with these faders up here. Once I set them, I can pretty much leave them alone. I can just go between the songs with the crossfader. Here's the back of a mixing board. Every mixing board looks a little different, but this is what the back of this mixing board looks like. Now typically, when you plug in your first CD player or turntable, you're going to plug it into input 1. Input 1 sometimes has a line and a phono input. If you're working with turntables, you plug it into the phono input right here. If you're working with anything other than turntables, you plug it into the line input, because phono and line are very different. The difference is, if anybody's curious, the phono input has a little bitty amplifier inside of it, because a turntable does not have an internal amplifier. A line input does not have a little amplifier inside of it because, believe it or not, your CD player and your mixing in your laptop or your VCR or your DVD player or anything other than a phonograph has a little tiny amplifier in it. Just so you understand that. Only phono goes in phono. Now input 2 is where we put our second CD player or laptop, and we plug it into the line input of input 2. Typically that's how it works. Sometimes your crossfader will not utilize input 1 and input 2. Sometimes your crossfader uses input 2 and input 3. So you need to figure out which inputs your crossfader corresponds with before you plug everything in, if you plan on using your crossfader. The only other thing I want to show you is there's a main out on most mixers. The main out is where your audio signal goes and gets amplified out of speakers somewhere. Now this particular mixer has RCAs that go into the main out, and then the other side of these RCA cables would go into your home stereo or an amplifier. If your amplifier has another plug other than RCA, which it probably does if you're using a regular power amplifier, you're going to need to get some plugs that go from RCA to whatever type of plug goes into your amp. But if you're just going into your home stereo, RCA should just be fine. Our friend Hectag would like to use his laptop on his mixer as well. He has a 4-channel mixer. He wants to use Windows Media Player. I don't recommend it, but whatever you want to do, Hectag, that's up to you. The way you do that is you take one of these plugs here that you may have seen in my how to hook your laptop up to your mixer video, and you take the mini plug and you plug it into your headphone jack. Make sure your volume's turned up on your laptop. Let's say that you have 2 CD players. You have a CD player on line 1 or input 1 and a CD player on line 2 or input 2. You're going to need to plug your laptop into input 3, which is right here, or line 3. They also call them lines sometimes. So input or line 3 is where your laptop's going to go. Now maybe you only have one CD player, and that's cool. All you got to do is plug your laptop into the other input that corresponds with the crossfader position, whichever one you want the laptop to be. In this case, the way we have it hooked up, if input 1 or line 1 is crossfader position A, then line 2 would be crossfader position B. Now we're running 2 CD players or 2 phonographs or whatever configuration you want, and a laptop. Phonographs are using A and B position of the crossfader. Now we know that the laptop is on input 3. We can't use the crossfader on most mixing boards to, utilize input 3. Sometimes you can assign them, but that's a pain in the butt. Don't even bother. If you have more than 2 audio sources plugged into your mixer, use your crossfader for the 2 main ones that you're using, and just use your fader like a volume to go up and down for your laptop, which is right there, incidentally. There's the laptop all hooked up, playing some house music for us, which is on fader number 3 because it's plugged in to input or line 3. Now let's pretend that we don't have 2 turntables or 2 CD players. Let's pretend that's a CD player and then we have a laptop. Well, how does that work? Same thing. When the crossfader's in the A position, we're dealing with fader 1. When it's in the B position, we're dealing with fader 2, which is the laptop. Okay, Hectag, there's one more thing I want to show you before we wrap up this video, and that's the headphones. What do you do with these things? Well, you got a little headphone jack over here. You plug that into your mixer, wherever it says headphones. What you can do is, you can check out what's going on over here while everybody else is listening to what's going on over here. Leave your crossfader right where it is, where it's supposed to be. Somewhere on your mixer you're going to either see a button or a knob that says Q. Channel 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it's just a button on the fader like it is on my mixer. You find that Q function and check it out. In the headphones, we can hear the other deck, but nobody else can. Pretty cool, huh? So there you have it, a real basic video on how to hook things up for the first time. I hope this video helped. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them down here. Hectag, you better subscribe to my videos, leave me a nice rating and a nice comment for this. Practice and enjoy.